exercise equipment and is probably the most widely used exercise equipment in the United States. Welcome to the Medicine Man, Arthur.
Thank you, Steve.
What exactly is Nautilus equipment, and how does it differ from the barbells of the past?
Steve, a Nautilus machine is a logical barbell. Someone once called it a thinking man's barbell. Prior to the barbell, no tools existed that really were of much, if any, real value for the purpose of exercise. People trained with calisthenics and produced little or nothing in the way of results after years of training. People trained with Indian clubs and various other devices produced little or nothing in the way of results. And about 100 years ago, the adjustable plate-loading barbell was invented. And in a sense, the barbell was its own worst enemy, because the productivity, the efficiency, the potential of the barbell so far exceeded any previously existing tool that many people simply were not prepared to accept the results that were possible by the proper use of barbell training. Not to imply that many, if any, people trained properly, not many did. But even with improper training, we suddenly had a tool that made it possible to produce physical results that were previously impossible. So suddenly you started seeing people with a massive muscular physique that so far exceeded anything that previously existed that bodybuilders, weightlifters appeared freakish. And many people simply could not accept this. So the barbell was a quantum leap forward in efficiency in exercise. But it was such a quantum leap forward that it took it the better part of 100 years to be accepted. A Nautilus machine is nothing more nor less than one more leap forward with the barbell. It's a thinking man's barbell, a logical barbell. It removes most of the problems inherent in the barbell.
Will it take 100 years for Nautilus to be accepted in your estimation?
Well, it hasn't. In something over 10 years, Nautilus has become almost generic with exercise. There are now more than 2,400 health clubs in this country using Nautilus equipment, and untold thousands of schools and medical facilities, rehabilitation clinics, and places of that nature. So Nautilus equipment is now being used literally in tens of thousands of institutional applications. So it hasn't taken 100 years. But it would have if the barbell hadn't preceded.
We'll be right back with Mr. Arthur Jones. Our guest in the studio is Arthur Jones, creator of the Nautilus equipment. Arthur, how has the Nautilus equipment made a quantum leap over the traditional barbell?
In a number of ways. The barbell, as I mentioned earlier, Steve, was a quantum leap compared to earlier preceding exercise equipment or devices. But the barbell, in spite of its comparative or relative efficiency, still has certain shortcomings. The barbell's basic shortcoming is a result of the fact that a barbell provides one directional, unidirectional resistance as a result of gravity pulling down towards the center of the earth. This is fine if we were unidirectional or one-directional animals, but we're not. Human beings move in a rotary fashion. Movement of the hand occurs around the axis of the wrist. Movement of the hand in the forearm occurs around the axis of the elbow. Movement of the upper arm occurs around the axis of the shoulder. All of these movements are rotary in nature. You do not move in straight lines, or if the resulting movement is linear or straight line, It is nevertheless a combination of a number of integrated rotational movements. So we're not a reciprocal animal, we're a rotary animal. If then you're going to supply full range resistance, full range exercise to a rotational movement, then you must obviously have a rotational device. A barbell is not a rotational, it's a straight line device. The result being that you provide with a barbell overload, resistance, work, exercise, and therefore benefit only to part of a muscle. And if you're working part of a muscle, then obviously you are not working part of the muscle. So you will receive benefits in some areas of movement, and in some areas you will receive a lesser benefit or no benefit. Nautilus machines are designed to solve that problem. They provide a rotary form of resistance.
In addition to resistance, we are interested in flexibility. Will the Nautilus equipment do this as well?
Yes, because obviously you must have full range. That's really what the basis of the Nautilus concept and theory and practice is full range exercise. There are at least nine basic requirements for a full range exercise. A barbell provides two of these requirements in all barbell exercises. In diffuse exercises, it provides three, and in a few, very few exercises, it provides four of the requirements for a full range exercise. But it does not in any barbell exercise provide all nine of the requirements. A Nautilus machine is designed to provide all nine of these requirements, without which you do not have full range exercise. So a barbell does not provide full range exercise under any circumstances. A Nautilus machine does. That's the basic thing. Now, what are those requirements? Well, to begin with, you've got to have a rotary form of resistance. That's basic. Secondly, you've got to have a direct form of resistance. And that's a rather complex definition, which I won't even go into. But let me leave it that a Nautilus machine provides direct resistance, a barbell does not. Next, you've got to have both negative and positive work potential, which a barbell does provide, but only in certain positions. A Nautilus machine has both negative and positive work potential in all positions. Next, you've got to have a variable resistance, which a barbell does not provide properly.
What does a variable resistance
Variable
mean?
resistance is required in exercise due to the fact that you are not equally strong in all positions. As you move from the start of an exercise to the end of an exercise, your strength either increases or decreases, or it may become greater and then fall off again near the end, but it changes. The weight of a barbell remains constant, does not vary. But because of the direction of movement and other involved factors, a barbell does provide variable resistance. But it's arbitrarily variable. It does not vary in proportion or in any way in relation to the need. The result being that with a barbell, you inevitably, unavoidably are forced to train with the amount of resistance that you can handle in your weakest position. Therefore, you are meaningfully overloading the muscles only in their weakest position. In all other positions, you are doing little or nothing for the muscles.
You mentioned the term meaningfully overloading the muscles.
Without overload, exercise has no benefit. If you merely go through the motions of something you're already easily capable of doing, then don't bother. At best, you will retain your existing level of ability.
Well, I guess
at worst, you're wasting your time.
Getting even more fundamental then, what do you see as exercise? A lot of people feel that anything you do is exercise, taking a deep
movement,
breath.
Not necessarily exercise. Of course, there's disagreement. It's a matter of semantics and definition as to what is exercise and what isn't. But for my purposes, for For this discussion, let us assume that exercise is movement, physiological activity performed for the purpose of at least maintaining and hopefully improving some portion of our physiological function. It's done for the purpose of making us stronger, making us more flexible, making us more enduring. It's done to increase muscle strength or flexibility or cardiorespiratory function. It's done for a reason, not to develop a skill, but rather to increase the physiological capability of the person doing it. Now, that's my definition of exercise. Otherwise, it's just activity or movement.
You mentioned cardiorespiratory aspect of exercise. Will the Nautilus equipment affect our cardiorespiratory system? In other words, can you get aerobic training benefits?
The answer to that is yes and no. Running will increase your cardiorespiratory ability. Any other sort of exercise will increase it if it is applied properly. Historically, weightlifting, as it was generally done, had little or no effect upon cardiorespiratory function. But it is not necessarily true that it cannot have. In fact, properly applied weight training is by far the best method of improving cardiorespiratory function. But it must be properly applied.
We'll be right back with Mr. Arthur Jones after these messages. Welcome back. We're talking with Mr. Arthur Jones, creator of the Nautilus equipment. Arthur, in various articles that I've read about the Nautilus equipment, it said that Nautilus can speed up strength training and endurance training anywhere from 3 to 10 times. Is this possible?
It's possible. It doesn't necessarily follow that it always happens. A Nautilus machine, a barbell, an automobile, an airplane, a monkey wrench, all of these things are tools. If you're going to hunt elephants, don't do it with a switch or a BB gun. You know, get yourself a high-powered rifle. But don't buy a high-powered rifle and assume that that tool makes you an elephant hunter. If you're going to enter the Grand Prix, don't do it in a Volkswagen. You've got to own a Ferrari or a comparable tool. But owning a Ferrari does not make you a Grand Prix driver. You have to know how to use the tool, and you have to use it. So a Nautilus machine is an improved barbell in very simple terms. It will give you better results, properly applied. But if you buy a barbell or a Nautilus machine and park it in your garage and don't drive it, so to speak, then it'll produce no results. We go to a great deal of trouble. We put on seminars and exhibits in hundreds of locations around the country every year. We dispense literally millions of written pages of information. We have thousands of visitors here in Florida at our facility every year in attempts to teach people the proper use of the tools. And while the growth of Nautilus and the explosive growth and acceptance of Nautilus concept certainly indicates that a lot of people believe in it and are using it, and since it's obvious that they would not be using it if they were not satisfied with the results, does not follow that I'm satisfied with the results. Having produced a tool that can produce arbitrarily 100 units of results, where the previously best existing tool could produce perhaps 20 units of results. So we've made it possible for people to get 5 times the results. Now they come along and they take this tool with a potential of 100 units, and they get 40 units of benefit. Now that's twice what they were getting before. And they're pleased, they're tickled to death. Well, I'm irritated. I'd like to see them get 100% of what that tool can deliver.
How can they begin?
I'd like to see them use it efficiently. But they don't. But this is not unique to a Nautilus machine. There are something close to 50,000 people a year killed in this country every year in automobiles. Now, the automobile is not inherently a dangerous tool, but hundreds of thousands of people have been killed by automobiles, and millions have been crippled from the gross misuse of the automobile. Properly used, the automobile would be a safe, efficient method of transportation. Or, as it is in practice used by many people, it becomes very dangerous. Nautilus machine is safer than a barbell. It's safer than calisthenics. It's safer than most physical activities. But simply getting out of bed in the morning has a certain degree of danger to it. The Nautilus is capable of producing better results. And by and large, people certainly must believe that they're getting better results because they continue to use it. Its use proliferates and spreads widely, and it's become, as you said earlier, almost generic. Today, if you say Nautilus, you're saying exercise. But I am never quite satisfied. I'd like to see the people use the tool in such a manner that they get the total amount of benefit that they can and should.
How can they begin to start getting this benefit and this, the 100 units of actual potential out of a piece of Nautilus equipment?
First, you have to understand that people are not equal in their potential. Some people, some few people, have the potential to develop enormous muscular mass or strength or size or this or that. All people can improve, but not equally. So don't decide that you're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. No matter how long you train, no matter how you train, you do not have the potential to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now you, Steve, as an individual, could grossly improve your physiological capability through proper training. But having done so, you're not ever going to win a major physique contest. Not ever, nor will the average man. Major physique contests are won by genetic freaks who, not freaky in any negative sense of the word, but unusual individuals, 1 out of 100,000, who have also trained. But if everybody in the world trained, we'd have more freaks, of course. We would locate more freaks. But that wouldn't change your potential. So anybody can improve, but you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. You're not ever, Steve, going to be Mr. America, no matter what we do for you. We can do a lot. Literally, we could train you properly for 2 years or less, and your mother might not recognize you or even believe that it was you if she didn't see you in the meantime. But you still wouldn't place in the top 1,000 in a major physique contest. You don't have that freakish potential.
What percentage of the population has this potential or has the ability to go ahead, if they do have the potential, and go on and use it?
Everybody will improve. Everybody will improve markedly. But some will improve more, and a few will improve a great deal more.
Can the Nautilus equipment be used by all segments of the population?
Absolutely. If anybody that's not dead, over 18 inches tall, and less than 9 feet tall.
In other words, women as well as men?
Certainly, women, yes. Not only can exercise, Nautilus or otherwise, be utilized by women, but it should be.
How about the use of Nautilus equipment in the sports industry? In other words, to get more proficient in a sport. You indicated that it's good merely for strength and endurance, but really had nothing to do with sports
skill. But a muscle is a muscle is a muscle, regardless of the sport. Build the muscle the best way you can, the most efficient way you can, the safest way you can. Then learn to use that muscle in your particular sport by practicing the sport itself.
We'll be right back with Mr. Arthur Jones after these messages. Welcome back. We're talking with Arthur Jones, creator of Nautilus exercise equipment. Arthur, what is your opinion of the recent resurgence in women's bodybuilding?
Well, I wouldn't call it a resurgence, or maybe a surgence, if there is such a word. I don't think it ever occurred before. I'm upset by it and disturbed by it, not because exercise is bad for women, quite the contrary, but having spent the better part of 30 years trying to convince women that exercise is good for them, I'm disturbed by what is occurring in the bodybuilding scene for women because of the fact that a few genetically freakish, masculine or masculinized women are getting up in public and flexing their muscles and scaring most normal women to death. Falsely, wrongly convincing the average woman that she too will build big muscles if she exercises. When in fact, the average normal woman cannot build big muscles no matter what she does. Those women that you see that look masculine, that look muscular and defined, are genetic freaks, either suffering from an endocrine imbalance, which gives them a high male hormone level as an accident of birth, or, and in some cases they augment this by taking male hormones. So actually this is scaring women away from exercise when they should not be.
My thanks to you, Arthur Jones, for being a guest on the show, and my thanks to you for watching The Medicine Man. Any further information about Nautilus or the things discussed, write to us at P.O. Box 132, Moraga, California 94556. Good health.